So you might have seen the recent headlines in various news publications over the last couple of years like this. Most Americans don't have a real stake in the stock market. Or like this one, Trump touts stock market run, but who benefits? Or this one in the New York Times. We all have a stake in the stock market, right? Guess again. But then you might have seen this one, a Pew Research publication from March 2020 titled, More Than Half of US Households Have Some Investment in the Stock Market. So what's going on here? Well, in simple terms, there are some in the media and politicians who are misleading you about the numbers of people who own stock. So hi everybody, my name is Zalman Cole. Welcome to the Cole Standard. Today I'm going to answer the question, how many Americans are actually exposed to the stock market? Show you how the media and politicians mislead you into thinking the numbers are different to advance specifically their own political agenda. So the answer to the question is twofold. Here's why. In March and April this year, 2020, Gallup conducted a study that found 55% of Americans reported owning stock. Similar numbers in 2019 were reported, 2010. Stock ownership was more common in 2002 when 67% of US adults reported owning stock. So there is one caveat. The question Gallup asked in their poll was whether the person owned individual stock as well as stock included in a mutual fund or retirement savings account like an 401k or IRA. So let's talk about that. The numbers of people who are, as they refer to it, directly exposed to the stock market is only 14%. So pretty significant difference there. But we'll explain what that means soon and why it's just a meaningless, misleading differentiation created by the media, specifically in my opinion, to manipulate you. So just quickly, for those of you who are unaware, a 401k is a company-sponsored retirement account. Every time you receive your paycheck, essentially your employer puts a small portion of it into your 401k for your retirement. Again, an IRA is an individual retirement account, basically a tax advantage investing account that people use, again, towards their retirement. So back to the numbers. So let's think about this. 55% of people are affected by the movements of the stock market. So this obviously might come to you as a surprise because that's more than half the population that's exposed to the stock market. And again, the reason why this might come to you as a surprise is precisely because of the earlier headlines that I showed you, which insinuate that most people don't own stock or that at least most Americans don't have a real stake in the stock market. Here's why those headlines irk me. Because while those headlines are technically true, I'm going to say this again. The actual number of people who own stocks and who benefit or lose based on the stock market's fluctuations, success, and failures is actually quite significant, as we saw. 55%. That's more than half the population, period. That's where the analysis should end. Because the point is that these people are in fact exposed. But here's what the media and politicians do. They can't help themselves, so they turn into activists. They want you to believe that the effects to the portion of the population owning stock in their 401ks or IRAs is less significant and that therefore those people are not deemed directly invested in the individual stock market. So my question is why? Because here's the thing. If being invested in the 401k and IRA still means that if the market goes up, your 401k and IRA goes up as well. So why is that less significant? Here's how they justify it. So first, this is what they say every time the stock market goes up. They say, oh, only a small portion of the American people actually gained. Why? Because 84% of stocks are owned by the wealthiest 10%. By the way, that kind of disparity might be extremely real and we need to deal with it, but it's besides the point. And it's a different discussion entirely. Then they also say, some people basically have only $100 in their 401ks stock market, so it doesn't matter. To me, that's amazing. They're basically telling you that because they don't see a percentage gain on $100 as being significant, it's probably not significant for the people who actually own that money. So here's my personal take. I think it's politicians and the media say this because it's a political statement. They want to criticize capitalism and by extension the stock market. They can't do this if most people, 55%, are exposed to the market and relying on its success for their retirement as the data clearly suggests. So they mislead you by saying that these people, the 55%, they're not actually exposed to the stock market. What they're really saying essentially is most people are not exposed to the markets like those nasty capitalist rich people down the block that you can't stand, right? And vote for me. Funny enough, I would put down a lot of money that most of these politicians and media moguls that say this are actually probably significant stockholders, and they care very much about the market. Virtue signaling. But the point is that if you're invested in the stock market, if you're invested in the IRA, even a couple $100, it's probably significant to you. And the media should be honest about that. And they shouldn't make you upset about the fact that other people own more stock than you and that therefore it doesn't matter. And they shouldn't conclude that because you only have a couple $100, it's meaningless. Just be honest. The reality is that there might be a major disparity in stock owning, and that maybe needs to be addressed. But the fact that you have a couple $100 in your IRA or 401k and then the stock market goes up and it's good for you, that's the reality. And they should be honest about that. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant. I really appreciate you watching. Please like, please subscribe, please comment below if you have any interesting thoughts. And we'll see you next time.